Hi, everyone. This is Jackie and Yvette from Love Travel Scotland, and this is one of our postings that we are going to be sharing with you in our group. As you can hear, my dog is barking, so just ignore. Obviously, there's someone at my door, which is fine. So today we are traveling within the land of Scotland, and we are going to be exploring both castles and pyramids. Yvette, where are we going today?
So today we're going to take a trip up to Prince Albert's Cairn, also known as Prince Albert's Pyramid, and that's just beside Balmoral up at Ballater, and it's a gorgeous place to visit.
So you went there when? I know you went on a hike and a walk. You want to tell us more about that?
Yes, so I went there 2 weeks ago. That was an amazing experience. I was really lucky enough to have a friend take me up there because I'd never been before and I wasn't confident that I wouldn't get lost, but it was actually really easy to access. The walk that I went on was the direct route up to Prince Albert's Pyramid, which is on the internet it says it's a 30-minute walk. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't time it. My mobility can be a bit iffy now and again, so I was just delighted that I did make it up and down. I think it might have taken me 40 or 50 minutes, a bit longer, but it does say on the internet that it is a steep path. Now, when I've hiked previously in the past, I wouldn't have called that really steep. It did seem to have a bit of a gradual incline on it. It is through a forestry woodland, so obviously tips on hiking are don't stand on the roots because they are slippy, step over roots, so that you don't slip. Again, with the rocks as well, watch where you're standing on the rocks because those are slippy surfaces. When I was walking up it, I noticed that many tourists, they just had their everyday jeans and jackets and trainers on. When I went up it, I did the usual, Scotland, you go with layers, you don't know what the weather is going to be like. So, it's easier to add them and take them off rather than being too hot or too cold. Always recommend you take a hat and scarf in Scotland, regardless whether it's summer or not, because you never know, especially the higher up you get. I did have hiking boots on, and one piece of clothing that you definitely always need to have is a waterproof jacket, even if it's a lightweight one that you can put over your main jacket or over your jumper. But a waterproof jacket is generally a must because it usually does rain at some point. But it was a nice walk. And the first cairn that we came across is this one that you have on screen just now, which is to commemorate Princess Beatrice. And that was built in 1885. And they were all built by Queen Victoria at the time to commemorate her loved ones. She built 11 cairns in the Balmoral estate. I was lucky enough to see 2 of them. I will need to go back and see more of them. So just so you know, so if you go and visit, the direct route is open annually throughout the year, whereas if you go on the circular route to see the 11 cairns, that is closed during August and September. That used to be because the Queen would holiday in Balmoral during the summer. Now, with the Queen passing away and it being King Charles II, I don't know if he will continue to holiday during August and September at Balmoral, and the estate will continue to be closed then. But even if the estate is closed, you can still access the direct route, which is awesome. And it's definitely worth going to the top, to the pyramid, and you will see some photos from the top of the awesome view over the Cairngorms National Park. And it's definitely worth a visit, especially because it's only, if you're fit and healthy, 30 minutes to the top. It's not very far long out of your day.
So one of the things I want to mention is since you're going to be hiking, definitely think about taking some Band-Aids, for, any feet issues, and definitely water bottles too, because again, you're exercising, and sometimes when we travel, we don't think that we need these things, but we actually do. So this is a stone. It's amazing that they laid the stone out and then they were able to get it looking into a pyramid. When you walked around it, was it all solid, or what did it look like?
Yes, so it was all solid. It was all built with those rocks that you can see on this side. The only part being different is the solid brick that has the commemoration etched into it. Other than that, it's all been built like this. Those rocks formations being built like that is quite common we have a lot of dry stone dikes, which are walls, which are historical as well. And some of them are protected too. You're not allowed to remove those walls nor take them down because they are part of history. Hadrian's Wall as well being one of them. But through our little villages, we quite often just have walls running through back gardens, and you just leave them there. It was obviously a craft for the stonemasons back in the day. It's an old one that still is in well, we use it today, but it's very rare. It's a specialist area now. My cat
So
has come to say hello. Your dog was barking earlier. Now it's my cat.
yeah, we definitely are animal lovers here. So we've moved on to the picture of the Albert, pyramid, and you can see that it's actually made with stone that is more finished. It's, so the blocks are different.
Yes, so this one was laid in a different way, and what happened with this one is it's more modelled on the pyramids in Egypt, and I believe if you do actually look at the models in Egypt and compare it to this one, it's all symmetrical. It's not a particularly good shot for me to show you of that period pyramid there. Jackie's clicked off it, but I was going to point out that at the bottom there of the commemorative brick, you can see the stones on either side where it has the etching out at the bottom for the corners. It's all symmetrical, and it's amazing what they could do back in the 1800s and even further back in history with the limited tools that they did have to keep things so symmetrical. And I think it's just, millimeters, and it's exacting standards, I think is what they would call it in the engineering world, exacting standards.
So I know we're going to be showing more pictures. This looks pretty tall. When you were there, was it very tall for you're looking up?
Yeah, it is quite tall. Obviously not as tall as the ones in Egypt. It's 12 meters squared, so it would be 12 meters tall then, I think. So I'm only 5'3" me, so most things do look quite tall to me. But it's a nice size. It's a decent sized pyramid. You do see it when you're starting to turn around a corner on the hike. You can see, and it's always nice to see that you're getting nearer the top to your goal. It's a lovely pyramid, and a lot of people didn't know that we have pyramids in Scotland, and then they find out we have one, and then they were like, oh, you have 11 cairns. So we have a 10 that look like Princess Beatrice's one, and then the finale was for Prince Albert, because that was the husband of Queen Victoria, and she built it to commemorate her love for him.
Yeah. So the next picture you have, is this from the top of the pyramid?
Yes, so I stepped around the side of the pyramid. It looks a little bit blurry there. I don't think it's come into focus. I did take that as a panorama view, so it should go left and right. It might not behave itself being on Zoom. But yeah, so that was from the top, and I took a whole view from the left to the right, and then I tried to take, as you can see here, a corner shot of the pyramid. But on this shot, I realized that I'd missed the peak at the top, so I think I did take another photo after that and tried to get the peak into the top of it. I do like that photo that I took with the trees just going over it as well. And I was trying to put the tree in as well, so you could kind of get an idea of the size of the pyramid.
So is the pyramid hollow, or do you know what's inside the pyramid?
I have no idea. There's no information on the internet to tell me what is inside the pyramid, and I daren't take anything to that pyramid. I would probably get arrested.
Yeah. So we're taking a look at the past. It's beautiful, the grounds. It's that now. Did you see animals as well?
I didn't actually see animals other than the regular birds and butterflies, bees, all those kind of things when I was going up it. When you're driving through the Cairn Gorms, when it's coming up for dusk, you usually do see fields of deer. I've never been up to the Cairn Gorms yet and not seen one deer. Usually I see about 10 or 20 of them, if not more, in a field. And I was speaking to somebody last night that was telling me that they were staying in a beautiful remote Airbnb out Ballater way. And one evening, about 7 o'clock every evening, the deer would always come into the garden and surround the cottage. And they counted 80 deer in one night before they just gave up counting.
Wow.
And then by about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, they'd all just start to thin out again and go their own way. So they said that was a great experience. But with being a mum of 2 little ones as well, it's always nice to take them up into the Cairn Gorms and try and get as close to them seeing the deer as they possibly can. We do have natural reserves as well, where we have deer where we can go and see them in captivity, but it's not the same as just seeing them running through fields and munching on grass and things like that in their natural habitat.
Yeah,
Um,
so, well, what is the shop that you took a picture of? It looks really cute, the horn shop.
So yeah, so that's just a small business local in Braemar. So after we'd done the walk to Prince Albert's Cairn, Braemar is really close by. So we just went into Braemar, and I was just snapping pictures of some of the shops that we were driving past, and then we did park up and have a look around. And there was this really cute kit car, which I believe is kind of like a motorbike. It's basically
Yeah.
when you drive this, and there's a couple of motorbike helmets were in the footwell, I noticed when I took a closer look. And it's not going to, well, it luckily is waterproofed inside for the Scottish weather, but I would think that you would have to be quite hardcore to drive something like that around, particularly at this time of year when we're in September, October.
I
And
love
again,
the creeks and everything.
yeah, so this is just a little bridge as you go into Braemar as well. And I just took a little walk over it and snapped that picture on one side of it. And the other picture up the other side of it has a little waterfall, yeah, just there. And it's really nice and relaxing to hear it bubbling away on a nice, calm day. And I think during the summer, some people do go down and sit on the rocks when the water is nice and calm.
What are we looking at here? It looks like it might be an inn.
No, that is not an inn. That is a big fancy hotel. That is called the Fife Arms Hotel, and that has recently undergone a refurbishment. And that is a very luxurious hotel to stay in Braemar. It is called the Soho of the North, I believe, where tourists fly in on their helicopters and they go and spend a weekend or whatever in this little retreat here in the Fife Arms Hotel. I did take a couple of pictures from the bar inside. I do believe it's in the region of about £300 plus per night, depending on whether you found it in a deal. Definitely, we will be keeping an eye out for deals for the Five Arms Hotel on Love Travel Scotland, because I would love to just go and experience it for the night. Oh yes, and so this was a little jokey that I took a picture of here. So brewed to be wild, sheep shaggers gold. And the reason that that is funny in Scotland is because in Scotland we quite have the joke that there are a lot of sheep shaggers, and that obviously is for the men, not the women, and that's just an ongoing joke. So you know, for somebody a business to actually brew their beer and call it sheep shaggers gold, that's just a little bit of a photo and a touristy perk there as well. And yeah, so I would definitely recommend a trip to the Five Arms Hotel. I went in there, I had a soft drink and enjoyed the bar, and it was a nice bar. There was a nice little shop in there as well, a little tourist shop with lots of little trinkets from around Scotland, beautiful handbags made out of tartan. Obviously the thing in Scotland as well that's popular is whiskies, definitely loads of those to choose from. There's probably a distillery, probably as many distilleries at one time as there were castles, not as many now, but still very popular in Scotland as whiskey, and probably more so for exporting. We probably don't drink as much of it here as we export.
For sure, for sure. So I know for those that are listening, we are going to have the links below so that way you can discover the places that we've mentioned, and our future talks will also include other pictures, because Yvette has done a lot of walks both locally as well as in other cities around the country. So we're definitely going to be exploring a lot of different places. If you have a place that you want us to explore, definitely message us back, because I would love to send Yvette there, and I would love eventually for me to hop over and do it. And you might end up seeing some of these tales in the next episode of the Bitcoin Cinderella. So again, Scottish folklore, there's a lot of it. Anything that you want to share, you know, elves, fairies, anything that is local to the area that you can think of off the top of your head? I know this was not a planned question. So
Not locally to my area. I haven't actually looked up locally to my area. I was interested in the Aberfeldy fairies, so I did look up and do a little bit of research into the Aberfeldy ones. They're over by Stirling.
Oh, interesting.
Scotland has a lot of history regarding elves, fairy, and mystical creatures.
Yeah.
Mythical creatures, especially with our national animal of Scotland is the unicorn, which to many people would say isn't a real animal. It might not be, but who knows what it was like back in the 1600s, etc. So maybe we did have a few unicorns plotting around our fields, who knows. But the King of Scotland at the time decided to adopt the unicorn as his emblem. And I believe from the research that I did on that the reason he adopted that as his emblem was because he didn't think that there would be another creature or animal alive where anybody else would not be able to defeat the unicorn, because how could you defeat a mythical creature? That makes a lot of sense to me. So when England went for the rampant lion, well, the King of Scotland decided the unicorn was the way to go because the lion could not defeat a unicorn.
Well, I like the picture of unicorns, and I know that you and I are researching the various fairy tales and stories to decide which one will be integrated into the Bitcoin Cinderella, only because of the fact that there's such a wealth of, like I found a list of 55 mythical creatures, you know, so it's like, who do we talk about first? You know,
it's definitely an interesting area to go down because, you know, a lot of the mythical creatures were actually seen as being real back in the day. It's only as we have gone on to the modern ages and into recent times where we just view them as being fairy tales. But, you know, they were things that legends that tribes and clans lived by, was the you know, the way that they did what's the word that I'm looking for? Not procedures, but they're, you know, the historical things that people do.
well, a lot of these stories also taught lessons, and
That's it.
yeah, so there was a lot of I don't want to say
Rituals. I think that's the word that I was looking for, was rituals. You know,
exactly.
they would, a lot of tribes and clans would do rituals. And just like if we think about Asia as well, and the way that they worship the sun, and you know, they would have rituals and the moon festivals, all the different festivals over in Asia. Again, in Scotland, we have our festivals where we worship things, and more of Scotland history, I think, is starting to come to the forefront of the locals in Scotland's mind, and not just doing UK history and maybe what we were taught in school.
Yeah, and I think that some of the buildings and the names and the streets and things like that we might discover will also be connected to that as well. So it's really fun as we kind of do our research and share with everyone who's listening. Definitely like and subscribe, and message us your questions that you have so we can answer them in upcoming episodes. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.